James runs Grow. Grow is a digital growth agency. They've been working with some of the best known brands and some of the best known companies in this country for, I believe it's a little bit under a decade. James, is that correct? About 8 years? I'll wait for him to come back.
I can unmute me now. Yes, 8 years. That's right.
8 years, right? Yeah, brilliant. And they have consistently shown pretty significant growth, very clear return on investment on the marketing, and have been worth the money that their clients pay. And I should know because I'm a client of James as well, and I'm a very happy client of James as well. Now, the topic for today is how to turn adverse conditions into opportunities. This is a fairly fast-paced workshop, and there will be a lot of ideas flowing, so make sure you have something ready to jot down some notes. And with that, James, I'd like to hand over to you, please.
Great. Thanks very much, Murtaza. It's great to all have you here and see some very familiar faces, which is always nice. So I'll just jump in straight away and just get my tech in order. Here we go. Okay, so as Murtaza said earlier on, everybody is talking about the crisis. It's not just a slap in the face, more of a punch in the face. But I don't know about you, but I feel like we've had enough of that, right? Why is everyone talking about all the negative stuff? There's so much opportunity in a crisis. And so that's what I want to kind of press home to you guys and talk about today. So, all right, so even since I created this presentation, things have changed. They're changing so rapidly. Yesterday, the Dubai government opened up most of the economy. I think the jury is still out there as to whether that will change anything in the short term, but we are starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel now. But that doesn't really change what I'm going to talk to you about. It doesn't change how you need to prepare for this. There are 3 areas where you need to prepare, and that's during the crisis. We have to be ready for that and be doing the right things right now, regardless of how long it's going to take to get into the recovery phase, because we really don't know. Then there's obviously going to be the recovery phase when businesses start to come back, and I'm going to show you what you need to do during that time. And then finally, after everything is back to normal or the new normal, what should you be doing then? So, sorry, I'm having problems. Okay, so basically, there's one massive mistake that businesses are making right now. And this happens all the time when there's a recession. And I posted a video on LinkedIn the other day about this, and somebody replied back saying, short-term fix, long-term problem, he said. And I couldn't have put it better myself. I mean, it's absolutely right. And that is the fact that people are cutting their costs right now in every way that they can. And that doesn't exclude marketing. The problem is that marketing is not a cost, it's an investment. And so if you cut your marketing investment, you're going to cut your marketing returns. And there's data that shows the damage that this does. And what it shows is that companies that cut their marketing budget in a downturn by 100% take 5 years to recover. They take 5 years to bounce back to the situation they were in before the recession. Companies that cut their marketing budget by 50% took 3 years. So it's an extremely expensive and damaging mistake to make when you cut your marketing budget. And I'll just very briefly explain why. And it's all about share of voice. You know, share of voice is basically how loud you're shouting in the market compared to your competitors. And the reason that this is so risky is because share of voice doesn't affect your profitability and your share of market for about a year. There's a 1 year time lag. And so companies that cut their marketing budget in a downturn, later, by which time it's too late. So be very careful about what you do with your marketing. Now, I'm going to talk to you about where you need to invest your marketing budget and where you don't need to invest. There are areas where you can cut, but there are certain areas that you really shouldn't cut. So, as I mentioned, I want to talk about the opportunities. And in the market, there are several, and I'm just going to talk to you about a few of them. First of all is that the cost of advertising online has gone down by 50%. And that's because everyone's making the same mistake. They're all cutting their marketing budget, and so the demand has fallen. But at the same time, with everybody in lockdown, the demand has increased for obviously the exposure rather. In Italy, when they locked down, Facebook reported that all of their platforms saw an increase of 70% across the board, and we're seeing the same data coming through for Google as well. Now, we know that the majority of businesses are burying their head in the sand and adopting a wait and see kind of attitude. And that means that we know that our competitors are likely to be doing the same thing. We can predict their next move. And that means that we can also outmaneuver them. If we know what they're going to do, we can do something much better and more ambitious than them. And this is the slide that Murtaza was referring to. Basically means that the playing field has been leveled, and your competitors have been whacked as hard as you have. And if your competitors are bigger than you, they've probably fallen harder than you as well. And the reason this is an advantage is because if you've lost business during this recession, your competitors have too. You can be sure of that. And if your competitors have lost business, those clients that they had are now ripe for the picking. They're available to be won for your business instead. And I'm sure you realize that it's so much easier to win a client that is looking for a service rather than one that's comfortable with their existing service. So if you enact some of these principles that I'm going to show you in a second, when the time comes that they want to come back and they need your services, then they're going to be open in the market. They're going to be looking at possible solutions, and you're going to be in that mix. And then last of all, everybody keeps saying that we're all in the same boat. And I disagree, because if we're all in the same boat and the boat is sinking, we're all just going to drown. There's no sense in that, right? So what I'm going to do, and what I think that you all should do, is jump ship. Maybe go out of your comfort zone for a brief moment, but swim to the shore, be the first to the shore, build your house and build your empire up. And I'm going to show you a few techniques on how you can do this. But the concept here is stop doing what everyone else is doing. There's a huge opportunity to be had, and it's right for the taking. This is a very rare situation, and so you need to maximize and make the most of it. So think about what you're going to be doing that is different to your competition. How are you going to stand out? So I'm going to talk to you about two core principles, first of all, just so that the rest of this makes sense. And then once I've done that, I'm going to explain where you need to focus right now, as I mentioned, during the COVID crisis, when the economy starts to recover, and finally, what you need to be doing once the COVID and the recession has fully recovered and it's back to business. Well, probably not as usual, but the new normal, let's say. So the first principle is the growth triad. And I'm going to steal Murtaza's analogy of the three-legged stool, because this works really nicely. Essentially, these are the three legs of your stool that you need for your business to grow. And this, as Murtaza mentioned, is in the top left of the Kaizen model, growth. And so without marketing, obviously, you're not going to have anybody to sell to. Without sales, you're not going to have anybody to retain. And without retention, you're going to be working twice as hard in marketing and sales just to stay in the same place. So all three of these aspects of your business need to be strong and working in synchronicity. And this works financially as well. So you've got the number of clients multiplied by their average spend, multiplied by the number of times they purchase from you, will give you your revenue. And traditionally in sales and marketing, we focus on increasing the number of clients, and you see an equal return in your revenue. What we do, and what I recommend you guys do, is look at your full growth triad, because when you can increase your number of clients by 25%, you increase their average spend by 25%, and you increase the number of times they buy from you by 25%, you get exponential increases in revenue. And we've also recently acquired a branding agency, and the reason we did that is because we realized over time that having a strong brand permeates the entire growth triad. And again, if we look at this financially, let's say you have the same benefits from your marketing, sales, and retention, but you have a stronger brand. Let's say it gives you a boost of 10% across the board. You can see what a difference that makes to your revenue. It's even more exponential. So just a quick check-in. Let me change the view to see everybody. Can you all put your thumbs up if you're with me so far? Great. Lots of thumbs. Good. Okay. So the next principle is the buyer's journey. And this is, if you've got a marketing background, this is going to be quite familiar to you. But it's essentially the psychological process that anybody goes through when they're engaging with your business and becoming a customer, and even after they've become a customer. So I'm going to talk to you very quickly through each one of the stages. So the first stage is awareness, which is essentially discovering about your business, learning about your business, but it also is learning about a problem that they didn't realize that they had. And I'll use an example of Apple, where Steve Jobs created the iPhone. Nobody knew they needed an iPhone until that happened. But he created awareness of a need, and he created a need. And so that's that stage. So once they're aware of the problem that they have and how you can solve it, then we get to engagement, which is just a fancy word for front of mind. Staying front of mind, interacting with those prospects. Ideally, they would be interacting with you, but especially you still need to be communicating to them. Then they get to the point where they want your solution, or they want a solution that you provide. And at this stage, they're not going to be super loyal to you. They're going to be going to the internet, and they're going to be going to their market and their friends and doing some research into how they can solve the problem. And that might be, maybe they can get a solution that's free, or they can get a solution that one of your competitors is offering that is a better value or lower price. They're going to be unbiased at this stage, and they're going to be just finding out what's in it for them, what are the best options, and how they can solve this problem. Now, assuming you've done it all right up until this point, you're going to get them into your sales funnel, and this is where they're going to commit to you. This is the entire sales process in one go. Then, assuming you did that right and you've closed them, then they're going to go into adoption, which is the first critical 100 days of being a customer of yours. And this is where you really have to prove to them that they made the right decision. They're going to be very uneasy, and they're going to want you to prove that they really did make the right shout. And so you need to do everything you can to make them feel comfortable and reassure them that they did make the right decision, and ideally exceed their expectations. If you achieve that, they're going to move into the comfortable phase, which is retention, where that you have built up that trust. You've built up that credibility. Whenever they need something that you can help them with, they'll go to you without any questions. And this is where most of our clients generally sit. Now, the holy grail is getting them to the next point, advocacy. This is where you've continued to provide value and exceeded their expectations consistently. And they're so filled with delight, they want to talk about you. They want to share everything that you do with their friends and colleagues, and that's essentially the holy grail, where it's 9 times easier to close a lead that has been referred, right? And so if you get more of your clients into that advocacy stage, you're going to get more leads, of course, but you're going to find it so much easier to close those leads as well. So that's the buyer's journey in a nutshell. And I've recolored it here to show you how the buyer's journey fits with the growth triad. You can see that there's a very strong similarity here, where marketing is the first part, sales is about converting them, and then retention is the adoption, retention, and advocacy stage of the buyer's journey. So now that you understand that, I want to introduce you to just a few of the channels you can use to communicate with people throughout the buyer's journey. Now, I'm not going to go into super detail about this. This is just kind of illustrative. But what I want to explain here is the fact that a lot of people have probably already heard me say this 100 times, but you don't want to ask for marriage on the first date. And what I mean by that is, if you try and sell to them in the awareness phase, it's too much, it's too soon, and you're going to scare them away. So the concept here is about choosing your messaging at different points in the buyer's journey, and thinking about which channels you use at which stage. So during awareness, display ads are great for raising awareness. LinkedIn outreach, making connection requests is great for raising awareness. PR is really good, and often not really thought about or undervalued. And then you start to move into engagement. Once they know about you, once they know about the challenge, then you start to do things like thought leadership, create that front of mind, constantly being out there and reminding them that you exist and showing them how valuable you are. Social ads are also a great way to get engagement. Then you move into research, and what you've got to do here is help people to do that research. It's not about saying, hey, look at me, I'm here and I'm the best one for you. It's about saying, okay, I understand you have this problem. These are the best ways to solve this, or this is what you need to look out for, and this is what you need to try and stay away from. So think about ways that you can help people to conduct that research. Because if you hold their hand through all this process, you're going to create an awful lot of trust, which is going to help you when they get to the commitment phase. Then we're talking about PPC, which is Google Ads, getting on top of search, on top of Google. And during the commitment phase, you've got obviously your website and landing pages. And the website is often thought of as the ultimate piece of the puzzle, and it is very important. However, you do need to realize that there are only 2 points when your clients are going to be visiting the website. And that's when they're doing their research and they're comparing you to your competitors. And then they'll visit you a second time when they're about to make a decision, they're about to commit to you. The first time, when they're doing their research, they're going to just look at your services and your capabilities. The second time, they're going to be checking out that they're about to make that commitment, so they want to look at your team. They're going to want to look at your about page. They're going to want to make sure that it's got strong leadership or the values are aligned. So those are the 2 things that you need to think about when you're building a website, or if you've got one already, if you want to improve it. And they're absolutely critical because they will increase the conversion rate. They will take everybody from the early stages of marketing and turn them into leads. So it's not to be undervalued. But essentially, once people have visited your website those 2 times, they'll never go back again. All right, so then the adoption phase comes in. And this is about, like I said, showing value, reassuring them that they made the right decision. And the best way to do this is, of course, in providing a good service. But on top of that is through LinkedIn, constantly showing them additional insights, training them on various things that they may need to know. You can use email as well to keep them educated and just basically stay front of mind and give them more than they expected. And then retention comes from thought leadership, email as well, in terms of constantly giving them value through maybe client-specific webinars, client-specific insights. We'll brainstorm a few other ideas around this as well in a bit. And then lastly, social networks through advocacy. And what I mean here is not necessarily, if you're a B2B company, you don't necessarily want to be on Instagram or Facebook or something like that. It's more about creating communities and asking people to use those social networks to talk about you rather than you using it yourself. And that's the key, is that third-party endorsement is so powerful. Okay, so sorry, it's not moving again. Okay, so I just want a quick check-in again. Is everybody happy? Let me see a show of thumbs. Good, awesome. Okay, so next step then. Where are we going to focus right now whilst everybody, well, kind of is on lockdown and businesses are really struggling? Nobody wants to commit. So what do? These are the areas that you need to focus on. Now, commitment is grayed out because I know that it's ultimately we really need to generate sales right now, but the reality is that it's not possible. Nobody wants to spend money right now. And they're not going to want to spend money until they're sure that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that there's a way out of this, and that they're going to survive themselves. So the first thing that when this all happened was cut costs. And of course, we've all felt that pain because we're part of that. So what should we do instead? We need to prepare for when they can commit. And as I mentioned, you don't want to be trying to get them to buy from you right now, because it's like, shouting in a closed room. No one's going to hear you, and no one's going to want to hear you. They're going to want you to provide value at the moment. So it's a great opportunity to use this to your advantage and start focusing on some of the earlier points in the buyer's journey that are often neglected. It's always easy to go to lead generation and get a quick win. But now is not the time. Now is the time to focus on awareness and engagement, and just start creating content that is providing value to your target audience. And as I mentioned with the growth triad, retention is key. Everybody is probably suffering in terms of keeping the clients that they already have. And so you also need to focus your communication on that, on making sure that they feel valued. And this isn't just necessarily in terms of sharing content, but it's also about asking them questions and having a conversation with them to make sure that they're okay, and seeing if there's any way that you can help them. And lastly, it's also a really good opportunity to show them your values, in that potentially you're not, or ideally, you're not just in it for the money. You're not just helping them because they're paying you. If you can offer them complimentary support right now, that's going to go a long way. People will remember you. They'll remember what you did during the hard times. So make sure that you're doing that. So the first activity, I'd like, Murtaza, if you can get everybody into groups. I want you to have a quick brainstorm with your groups as to what activities you can do right now to generate awareness for your business.
All right, please accept the room invites and you will be there. Everybody is back, and I do apologize. I think there may have been some people who were interrupted in the middle of a sentence. I know somebody was in my room was interrupted in the middle of a sentence. James, can I hand it back to you?
Yeah, cool. So Amani, we'll continue our conversation later as well. We got cut off too. All right, so am I still showing my screen? I don't think so.
Yes.
I am? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So the one thing that I want to talk to you about, that I think in terms of activities is the absolute best thing you could do right now, is a survey. And I'm going to explain why. So first of all,
James, so sorry.
Yes.
Were you talking about showing your presentation or your video
Yes.
screen?
Oh, sorry, you can't see my presentation. Okay, thank you.
No, I can't see it.
You can see the amazing painting behind you, but not your amazing presentation.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
thanks
you.
guys. Appreciate that. Okay, so one thing that maybe I wasn't clear about earlier is that when you're talking about, when you're raising awareness and you're trying to generate engagement, it's all about providing value to these people. It's not about talking about your services or what you do, because, you know, to be completely brutally honest, they don't care. What they care about is what's in it for them. And so the first thing you got to think about with raising awareness is providing value, and how you can provide that value. And a survey is a really good way of providing value, because first of all, it creates insight that is specific to them. So if you send out a survey to your customers, you can then share the results, of course, with them, and generate a huge amount of insight that they really value, that they wouldn't get anywhere else. And on that, it's very, very unique. And third of all, it's a way of them helping to compare themselves to the market and almost benchmark themselves, which ideally provides them with reassurance that they're not alone in this situation. They're suffering as much as everyone else is, or potentially they're doing better than the competition. The second thing I want to talk about, or the reason why surveys are so good, is again because it generates awareness, and that's because when you create the results, those results are shareable. It's great insights that people love to share with their peers. It's also a really good way of showing that you are being genuine with your marketing, and you're genuinely giving to people rather than just trying to win their business. It also shows you as an expert in the industry. It's a very proactive move to do a survey. Not everybody does it. And so it's a really good opportunity to position yourself as a thought leader. Okay. Then in terms of engagement, and as I said, this is essentially front of mind. It's great because it shows you being proactive. You're in front of them in order to create this survey. And I'm going to go into more detail in this in a second. It's valuable interaction at every step. Okay, maybe filling out the survey is not super fun, but in return for 5 minutes of giving your time, the value that you get back is far outweighing the negatives. There's a huge opportunity for multiple touch points, which I will also show you in a second. But one thing to keep in mind with touch points, this is all about engagement, of course. This is, you know, coming up here, coming up there, being seen everywhere. And the reason this works is because it creates familiarity. And the brain doesn't know the difference between familiarity and trust. And obviously the word familiarity comes from the word family. And so it's very, very tightly connected with trust. And that's essentially what you're trying to do, is build trust so that when they want to work with you, then there's no question, they trust you without a doubt. And so the key here is to create as many touch points as possible, and touch points are simply interactions with people. Then lastly, survey helps a great deal with retention because it helps you to ask questions that you need to know about your clients' challenges, which will obviously help you to serve them better and support them better in this time. It's also a great value add because what you can do is provide VIP insights so that they feel special. They feel like because they're your client, they're getting extra secret insights that the general public don't get. And you can also, off the back of that, produce VIP sessions such as private webinars or roundtables where you can discuss the findings of your survey. And lastly, there's the reciprocity principle, where when you give something, people psychologically and socially feel obligated to give back. And so when you give something of great value to your existing clients, they're going to want to give back to you, and that's going to come in the form of loyalty. So let's just quickly look at these touch points. First of all, when you invite them through email or through LinkedIn or WhatsApp, that's a touch point. They're exposed to your brand and they see that you are a thought leader and you're being very proactive. Second of all is the survey itself. When they complete it, as long as it's not overwhelming or boring or tedious, they're going to have a positive interaction with your brand. Third one is the thank you email. That's important, something that people sometimes miss, but it's a great opportunity just to have that additional touch point. Then number 4 is a teaser, where you can leak a few key insights that will get people interested. You can do this through email marketing, through LinkedIn, through your website, through your blog, and through a press release. Then number 5 is through promoting a webinar where you can talk about this, and again, promote that through email, LinkedIn, and WhatsApp. And then number 6 is the webinar itself, where you can reveal more findings from the survey. You can create debates and discussions around it, have a Q&A. You also need to have a call to action, because at that point, you don't want them to just disappear into the ether. You want them to take a next step. And it's very key that you actually do ask them to take that next step, whatever that might be. It might be sign up for our newsletter to get more key insights like this. It's something small. Don't ask for a big commitment. Then you can use it as the lead magnet on your website. And what I mean by lead magnet is that they have to put their email address in and their name in order to download it later on. And so that gives you the ability to have additional content on your website and attract more people as well over the longer term. So it's not just a very short-lived thing, it has longevity. You can also, so you can get them to download the results in terms of a PDF. You can share the recording of the webinars that you hosted, and you can also then set people up in email automation so that they start to get marketed through again, only value through your email marketing automation. And then you can also set them up with remarketing so that they start to see adverts all over the internet with your brand, and perhaps linking them to additional value, such as additional insights or new blog articles that you've released. And what I would also recommend is that, assuming you've got their name, is connect with them on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is becoming an extremely powerful tool for generating awareness and engagement. So I want you guys to think about the survey that you can create for your business now. Here's a few tips to help. Think about what your clients would love to know right now. And when you write this survey, think about what you're using it for. This is not necessarily to help you to understand your market. You can ask a few questions about that, but this is more about providing value to your market. So what questions would they want to know rather than what would you want to know? Can it be quantified? Are the results going to be able to be presented in like on this image in terms of with graphs and charts, or is it a qualitative type insight? Now, there's no right or wrong here. Some of the best insights you can get are actually if you keep it an open question. You don't want to have a yes or no answer because it's too black and white. You want to have, even if you have multiple choice, have an other section so that people can give you ideas, because what you don't want to do is assume things. You don't want to assume that you know the answers. Leave it open because they might surprise you with some of their insights. And sorry, as I mentioned, ask open questions. Those are better. And one other thing about open questions is that if you have like a description box where you ask them a question, i.e., what have you done to adapt to the current situation, you're going to get a whole range of answers. And those answers could be golden nuggets that you can use as headlines in your PR and your press release, or headlines even to attract people to attend your webinar. So don't be afraid of asking open questions. They're very valuable. So step one, I want you guys to get into groups. Sorry, no, this isn't groups. This is on your own. Write down a theme that you want for your survey. So ask yourself, what do you want to know? Ask yourself what your clients want to know, and ideally find a crossover between the two. If you don't have a crossover, then definitely prioritize the clients, because the purpose, as I said, of this survey is increasing awareness and engagement and providing value to your prospects and clients. Step two, I want you to brainstorm questions. At this point, just write down all of the questions you can think of. Don't filter it. And try to maintain the theme, because at the end of this, when you have your results, you want those results to be all on one kind of concept, one kind of theme, to keep people engaged. You don't want random findings. Then once you've done that, I want you to condense your questions into a maximum of 10. This is because people don't want to spend ages filling out surveys, and if it's too much, you'll get actually less data. So the easier it is to fill out the survey, the more results you'll get. And remember, you can always do a second follow-up survey if you have additional insights you want to get. Again, ask yourself a question: will knowing the answer be helpful to my clients? Think about the potential answers that they would have to each of those questions, and make sure that it's going to be valuable insights. Will knowing the answer enable me to add value, in terms of, this is where the retention aspect comes in. Are you going to get insights from this answer that are going to help you to show how crucial you are to your clients and customers at this point? And is this answer going to provide juicy insights? Because if it is, that's the one you want to lead with. And lastly, if the answer is for VIP only, will the other insights still be valuable? So have a think about some questions that will be VIP only, but make sure the other ones are still really valuable to the general public and your prospects. So this is another quick session. If you can just start brainstorming on your own for the next 5 minutes, and then we'll crack on. Okay, cool. So I've gone over time, so I need to whiz through this now as quickly as possible. So very quickly, got about 5 minutes. So the recovery phase. So ideally, you've now focused on these areas, right? So awareness, engagement, and retention. Think about the type of content you're going to be producing to support those. That's where no one is doing anything. They're all hunkering down. During the recovery phase, which we may be entering very soon, you need to start, and you'll notice if I just toggle that, it's not changing very much, right? We're just going into research, because people in the recovery phase are still not going to be ready. They're going to be very unsettled by the whole experience. They're not going to be ready to commit. But what they are going to be doing is getting ready. They're going to be preparing. And that's when they enter the research phase. So you need to start focusing on creating blog content. And when I say PPC, and that's Google Ads, what I mean here is that you need to be catching people when they're doing research, not necessarily lead generation at this time. So search terms like, how do I solve X? Those are great. They're not going to be super expensive because most people are looking for the quick wins, and so they're not going to be bidding on those types of keywords. But it's great for driving people to blog articles where you can, as I said before, support people in their research and help them to find the best solution possible, because this will help you. Essentially, by taking their hand, you generate trust. Once the virus is gone and business is bounced back and we're all recovered, then you need to get to this point. And I know that's kind of intimidating. Obviously, that's why us digital agencies exist. But I'm just raising your awareness that it is important that you focus on the entire buyer's journey, the full growth ecosystem. You need to set processes in place that do address all of these areas, because that's how your business is going to grow. If I remind you back to the growth triad through marketing, sales, and retention. Now, this is another, in terms of opportunity, you have this opportunity that you don't need to focus on all of those right now. You only need to focus on a few. And then when the market recovers, you then focus on the next one, and then the market is bounced back, then you can start focusing on the whole shebang. But if you've done what I recommend in the right way, awareness, engagement, and research, by the time the market does bounce back, have a look at commitment, because that's what's going to happen, okay? It's going to be big, because what's happened is that you're the one that has been helping people through this. You're the one that's been staying front of mind. And so you're the one that's going to be first on their list to contact when they need your support. So that's where you need to get to. And now is a huge opportunity to start sowing those seeds so that you can reap the rewards when the time is right. But before I end, I just want to mention how important it is that you are consistent with this. A very common mistake is people get overly ambitious and they try to do too much and they end up doing nothing. I would rather that you commit to 1 or 2 activities and nail it, and then grow on top of that, build on top of that, rather than trying to do too much and failing at everything. And so when I pass back over to Murtaza and you start planning your strategy, do be cautious about it, but do be a bit pessimistic. And ideally, as most of you are business owners, it's a lot easier for you to delegate this the work if you can do that, because it's more likely to happen as well. So we'll have a quick question and answer session. But before I do, in line with Murtaza's planning session, I did want to share this with you. And this was actually a survey done in the UK by our UK accountants, where they did a survey. It was about 2 years ago. They reached out to hundreds of business owners in all kinds of different industries. And what they were looking at was the value of planning, but also in terms of the stress and anxiety that business leaders have. And what they found was that people who have got a clear vision for their future and a clear plan written down, they're 5 times less likely to feel stress and anxiety than those who didn't have that. And so I think this is really key, because, you know, I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that it's an extremely stressful time. And I personally was panicking in the early days and very, very stressed out about what's going to happen, how are we going to survive, what do we do? And fortunately, I attended these guys' webinar where he mentioned the 5X improvement. And so what I did was I created a plan. I created a contingency plan, and I created 4 of them actually, all the way through to the doomsday scenario. And it was night and day. From having no plan and stress to having a contingency for whatever happens, I was instantly calm and relaxed about everything. So I highly recommend you think about this. Murtaza is going to help you through to plan your next 90 days. But I did want to share that with you because I found that very powerful. So now I'm going to kind of open the floor to you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to either switch your microphone on or send a message in the chat. And I'm happy to help. All right, cool. So seeing as we don't have a great amount of time left, I'm going to hand over to Murtaza now. Thanks very much, everyone, for your contributions.